Okay, welcome to the part two in this series where Michael and I are going through what is it that we need to do around going to market,
Yep.
meaning, and I'll let Michael go into it, really all of it, not just marketing, but really all of that it requires to get clients and keep clients and get them referring clients and buying more things, all the things we want, right?
Yep.
That's what we want in our businesses. Well, Michael is back for this part two. If you missed part one, definitely go back and check that out. But Michael, thank you so much for being here. You truly are a strategist and an expert on how to execute on effectively being able to do all those things, get those clients to do all the things we want them to do.
Yep.
But before we dig in, I'd love for you to just step us back a little bit, give us a little bit of context, and then we'll dive right into this part of this series.
Sure. So thank you again, Jen, for having me. So hello, everyone. So I'm talking about how to develop and execute your business growth, go-to-market strategy, your action plan to drive new market entry, client acquisition, client retention, and expansion in the world of B2B when we're dealing with B2B buyers. And so the key to this is all about undertaking what I call my buyer air-driven framework. It's a business buyer air-driven framework because we need to be focusing on the business buyer, the decision maker. And there are some key things that we need to know about, which I'll unpack shortly. And it's all about understanding who those business buyers are, understanding their priorities, their objectives, and then providing what I call AIR, advice, insights, and recommendations to those key priorities and objectives, making that brilliance, those advice, insights, recommendations, suggestions, visible and available where your target buyers, your decision makers, are seeking for information, which could be a combination of online sites. It can be the likes of your industry and professional associations, podcasts, events, tapping into subject matter experts, advisory groups, etc., understanding where they are going to self-educate and research and making your brilliance, your expertise visible there. Now, how do we execute and do all of these great things? There are four key pillars to the go-to-market framework: content, micro events, there's strategic collaborations, and then developing the right kinds of offerings so that you are continually able to deliver the right kinds of advice, insights, services that your clients seek. Now, in today's session today, we're going to talk about the fundamental what you need to be able to do all of this. You must have an understanding of those business buyers that you're seeking and also the industries and markets that they currently operate in. So how do you undertake gaining an understanding around both of those levels, which I call listening? So gaining that in-depth understanding. So we need to be listening really on two levels. We're really on three levels. You need to be listening to you as the business owner, as the organization, being clear on what are your priorities, what are your objectives. So what are you trying to achieve? So if you're running your, own fractional COO firm, for example, what are your key priorities and objectives that you are really trying to achieve and for whom? So you really want to have that clarity. Then with regards to now having an understanding in terms of the industries and markets that you want to serve and the buyers that you're going after, we need to really gain a depth of understanding if we're going to be able to deliver to their requirements. So first thing we need to be doing, we need to have an understanding of the industries and the geographic markets that we're serving. So we need to understand in those markets, what are some of the key trends? What are the key developments? What's the state of the market? Who are some of our competitors that our buyers may be considering? So what other consultants, freelancers, independents, what other alternatives they may be seeking? What are the market conditions, the profitability? So you really want to, what are some of the key issues within that industry? So if you're operating in manufacturing, and let's say you're in manufacturing for transportation, in the transportation space. You want to have an understanding, you're working as a COO in that space. You want to have an understanding for those working in the transportation segment of manufacturing. What are the key issues that they're having? Is it around supply chain? Is it around certain client demands? Are there new developments? So you really want to be on the pulse of what is going on within that industry because our clients are expecting that depth of expertise. As providers of professional services, our decision makers really want to know that not only are we good in our zone of genius, but we really understand in the context of their particular industries that they operate. So how do you build that understanding at that industry market level? Well, your industry and professional associations are a great place to start. So find out, again, if we're going to use that transport manufacturing example, every industry, every subsegment will have some kind of industry professional body that provides information, events, etc. You want to be a member of that organization. Often it's not very expensive, but it's a great investment because that industry professional association, Jen, will be the repository of where you can get white papers, industry updates. They often have events going on, like things like webinars and various online events, so you can stay on the pulse of what are the issues, what are happening, what's happening. Often it's a good way to find out who your competition is because often they'll have events going, and if you pull off the program of agenda for the event, often you'll be able to see who are some of the industry experts, who are some of your competitors. So it's a great source of where you can get a lot of a one-stop shop to get a lot of the information that you require. Industry and professional periodicals. So finding out, in addition to the association and the group, is there a relevant magazine, newsletter that is coming out? Often it's through the industry association, but there often could be others for that industry. And again, tapping into those are great ways to really comprehensively and succinctly being able to gain an understanding of industry trends, dynamics, who are your key competitors, what are the key challenges and issues. So you want to be making sure you have an understanding at that industry market level. But then the next thing we need to be doing, and this is where there's often a bit of a gap, is understanding about our buyers. So in your particular target industry that you're going after, you really want to understand for those companies that you're seeking to get into, who either makes the decision to buy and or influences the decision. So who are those people? And chances are there are going to be multiple people. You want to at least try to get an understanding at least of one or two of those people. So who makes the decision to buy or influences? What are their key priorities and how do they buy? Those are some of the key things, three key things that we really need to understand about our decision makers. Now, how do you go about doing so? Okay, there's a number of ways, but to really get quite granular and quite specific, a great place to start is if you have current clients, is to start with your current clients. Having a short conversation, 30 minutes online or in person is a great way to do so. And having a depth interview, which you're going to record. So what are you going to do? What do you want to get from this discussion with these decision makers? You want to understand where they're at. Where are they looking to go? What are their key priorities? What are some of their key challenges and objectives? You know, what are some of the key drivers? What are some of their key decision making criteria of what they are looking for? Whom else are they, if they're haven't decided on a service provider, who else are they considering and why? So having these questions, but starting from where they're at, where they're looking to go, what's changed, what are their key priorities, what are their key pain points, having a discussion with, hopefully, if possible, a bit of a cross section of your clients will give you some good granular information as what's important to them. And one of the key things, Jen, you really want to be asking them is, how are they keeping updated with what's going on? And how are they learning about how to address some of those priorities and challenges? Who are they talking to? What are they reading? Where are they going? Who are they listening to? You want to gain those insights because that will be quite impactful to help you prioritize what you need to focus on in your business. So doing those interviews with a cross section, and ideally, if you can, of clients, if you can interview a couple of your prospects as well, because you can understand what will it take for them to want to sign on with you. What do they have to deliver? What do you have to demonstrate? What do you have to prove? Again, this will help you with not only acquiring that client, but potentially other clients as well. Any questions around that, Jen, before I can continue on?
More of a point of awareness in what you're sharing. What I think is so amazing, and you said it subtly, but so powerful, is to record it because what they're doing is giving you all the elements you need to a playbook of where to go, what to say, what is it that their pains are, and how you can solve it. So I think it's really powerful to be able to use their actual words because I think too many of us put a layer of what I think they want instead of what are they actually saying. So interviewing is so absolutely smart. And to not just get your own filter of what notes you wrote down, but what were the words that they said.
You're exactly right, Jen. And it's quite the reason to document it as well is to be able to share across the organization because you want to
Mm.
take those learnings and see what does that mean for your organization because it could mean in terms of things you need to change from an operations perspective. It could have
Mhm.
implications around the product, services, and solutions you're offering or going
Sure.
to be offering, the kinds of content, the kinds of air, advice,
Mhm.
insights, and recommendations.
Yes.
So you want to be able to take those learnings and share them across the organization as so that you can discuss, validate, and then prioritize what you're going to be acting on. So that's why
I
it's very important to be able to document and to document, but to share the learnings with the leadership team and the relevant functional folks within your business.
appreciate you saying to share it because that's part of what we want to look at is how do we get alignment between
Yeah,
the teams and understanding. And when it's my opinion versus yours, sales versus operations or sales and marketing, and saying my opinion versus yours, when you actually have what someone who you're serving or want to serve is actually saying, you can't really argue with that.
yeah, absolutely. But Jen, in addition to having that direct buyer feedback, which you can obtain through a couple of ways, just quickly in terms of getting that buyer feedback. So depth interviews one-on-one with decision makers can be quite good. You also can do what I call your strategic client workshops, where
Mhm.
often I do that more with your larger mid-market, larger SMB, larger mid-market, as having like a half day, 3 hour half day session where you bring together members of your team as a product service advisor and you meet with your client. And it's sharing of insights, it's discussing and so you gain feedback, often cross functionally from within your client group as to where they're at, what's going on, what's working, what are their priorities, what's working, what's not working, what do they need. And so it allows for a live direct feedback. And again, you want to have someone in that workshop capturing notes, but it allows you as a product service provider to share what you are doing, share some learnings that you have so you can educate them, and also to be gaining feedback back. So there's kind of two ways you can do it. You can do the one-on-one depth interviews, and again, those can be done online, in person, or in larger organizations, often where there's more cross-functional activities going on. Doing that strategic client workshop works very well. Again, you want to have it planned out, but documenting, sharing the learnings, reviewing and discussing so you can determine and prioritize what you're going to be doing. But Jen, in addition to having that direct feedback from your clients, your decision makers, you also, again, that listening to the market and tapping into those industry market studies, white papers, so you can understand some of the broader trends, developments in the industry as well, how the industry is performing, where is it going. So tapping into that broader industry market insights, bringing those in conjunction with what you're learning from your buyers directly will give you a very clear point of view as to okay, what are the priorities, what do we need to be doing, so we're not just thinking just about our clients, we're thinking about from a market perspective to make
Mhm.
sure we're having the kinds of relevance in terms of the advice, insights, and recommendations, our service and solution offerings, as well as our client experience. So how are we providing service and support, that overall client experience. So you want to have the insights from two levels ideally so that you've really got a view to really position your company, your firm to move forward.
The industry piece is very interesting to me because if you do a good job of really understanding your client's industry, you may be ahead of them. You might know what's going to knock them out of where they were, maybe heading in a direction that isn't going to work because you now are starting to see the trends that they may be just in their own little ostrich hole, not looking up. So I think that that just increases the value you bring as well as the effectiveness to going to market and having solutions is speaking to where the industry is going is going to give you that credibility.
And Jen, that is a part of AIR, your advice, insights, recommendations. When you can be that trusted advisor, that expert, where you can guide them. And this is where your content can come in, where you can put together a white paper or a video, an article series, what have you, about where your industry is going and what you need to be watching out for. What are those headwinds? You can put that in content, distributing that content. You can use that as a basis of a Q&A, a panel that will position you as the subject matter expert, as the advisor. So you will become the go to in terms of when they're looking for that expertise. So it helps in terms of positioning you as the expert. So it's going to help you in terms of your client acquisition, your recognition in the market, as well as when you're actually delivering on the go to market strategy itself.
I just so appreciate the depth and really being able to truly gift us with a level of understanding that goes way beyond, I think, than anyone can ever imagine. The gift that you gave us to truly understand, get some real strategies that we can better understand our true buyer or buyers and
Yep.
influencers. I love that point as well. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait for the next part of the series. Before I sign us off, I can imagine people are hearing this going, this sounds great. I need help making all of that understanding happen. What's the best way they can reach out to you?
Uh, so, best way they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. If they want to take a look at some of my content as well, they can go to my website, listeninnovategrow.com. That's listeninnovategrow.com. And there I've got all kinds of articles, videos, playbooks on how you go about understanding the industries and markets that you serve. And then how do you develop that go to market strategy, that action plan and roadmap, because it is about execution at the end of the day, but how we do so in a data driven, buyer driven manner. Yeah, listeninnovategrow.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you so much for being here, Michael. And I look forward to our next part of the series.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Jen.